Lisa was sailing away with my boat, a smug grin plastered across her face as if she'd just claimed a prize. Neighbors lined their lawns, watching in silence, unsure whether to applaud her audacity or stay out of the drama. I stood there, arms crossed, not a trace of worry on my face. Unlike everyone else, I knew the truth. This wasn't theft, it was a setup. Lisa thought she'd outsmarted me, but every moment she spent on that boat pulled her closer to her downfall. I'd planned every detail, every move. It was time someone showed Lisa what happens when you cross the wrong person. She thought she was untouchable, above the rules, but she didn't know the boat wasn't just bait, it was a trap, and she'd sailed right into it. Let me take you back to the start, to how HOA Lisa thought she could steal from me and ended up caught in her own game. I'm a retired Navy veteran. After years of service, I craved peace, so I settled in a quiet lakeside community in Pine Hollow, complete with a private dock and a boat I cherished more than most people. It was supposed to be my sanctuary, calm, simple, serene. Then came Lisa, the HOA president who acted like she owned the world. She despised my boat, claiming it was too big, too noisy, and didn't match the neighborhood's aesthetic. The thing was, my boat was on my private property, breaking no rules. But that didn't stop Lisa. She sent fines, warnings, and fabricated code violations. At first, I brushed it off. Then I ignored her. But Lisa wasn't one to back down. She doubled down, and I realized ignoring her wouldn't cut it. If she wanted a fight, she'd get on my terms. Lisa's obsession with my boat grew absurd. Every week, a new violation notice appeared on my door. Unsightly object, unauthorized storage, even excessive noise when the engine hadn't run in days. I reached out to the HOA board, but Lisa was the board. She'd silenced dissenters and strong-armed the rest into compliance. Her power thrived on intimidation, and no one dared challenge her. She started snapping photos of my dock, sending late-night emails, and then came the threats: comply, or she'd have my boat removed. When I asked for her legal authority, she smirked and said, "You'll see." That's when I stopped playing her game. I filed a discreet complaint with the city and learned she'd reported my boat multiple times, all dismissed. She was desperate, so I gave her what she wanted, a chance to take it. I installed a GPS tracker under the hull, tucked away where no one would find it. A camera on the dock captured everything, angled perfectly. The final touch, a laminated legal notice in the boat's cabin, stating that moving it without consent was grand theft. With the stage set, I waited. One afternoon, while I was at the hardware store, a neighbor called. "Hey, someone's towing your boat." I didn't panic. I thanked him, hung up, and smiled. It was go time. I drove home slowly, arriving just as Lisa climbed aboard my boat, floating away from the dock. Her hair whipped in the breeze, her face radiating triumph. She had no idea I'd rigged the boat to lose power after 30 minutes. A mechanical failsafe ensured just enough fuel to strand her in the middle of the lake. Her joyride didn't last. Half an hour later, I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, binoculars trained on the water. The boat stopped dead. Lisa stood, waving her arms, confused and frantic. She tried restarting the engine, nothing. She grabbed her phone, probably to call for help, maybe even me. I ignored it. Instead, I dialed the sheriff. "I think someone stole my boat. I've got video, a GPS tracker, and she's out on the lake." Within 20 minutes, a police boat glided toward her, sirens off, but moving fast. I watched it unfold like a movie. Lisa stood tall, spinning some story, maybe claiming I'd abandoned the boat. But the officers weren't fooled. I'd already sent them the GPS data, dock footage, and a copy of the cabin's legal notice. They asked her to step off. She argued, voice rising, but eventually climbed onto the police boat. They towed mine back to the dock, smooth as silk. When they brought her to shore, I was waiting, tea in hand, a grin on my face. "Trouble with the boat, Lisa?" I asked. She screamed, calling me a liar, a cheat, a criminal. The sheriff raised a hand. "Ma'am, you were warned. You moved private property without consent. We have proof." They cuffed her right there, in front of half the neighborhood. Lawns and porches filled with onlookers as the HOA's queen was reduced to a thief in handcuffs. The HOA distanced itself from Lisa immediately. Some board members quietly thanked me. Turns out, she'd made plenty of enemies, but no one had the guts to act. Her arrest hit local headlines. HOA president charged with boat theft. Neighborhood group chats and bulletin boards buzzed. People were stunned, but I wasn't. I'd seen what power did to Lisa. My boat was the one thing she couldn't control, and it broke her. The HOA held an emergency meeting days later, removing Lisa as president and issuing me a public apology. They were scared off lawsuits, bad press, losing members. I wasn't done, though. I sued Lisa for damages, legal fees, emotional distress, and property tampering. My lawyer, a Navy buddy, didn't mess around. Within weeks, Lisa settled to avoid court, paying a hefty sum and agreeing to steer clear of my property. The neighborhood settled back to normal. Neighbors waved more often. Some even asked if I'd join the new HOA board. I declined politely. I didn't need control, just my peace, which I'd earned. Best of all, my boat ran better than ever after a tune-up. One evening, I took it out, just me and the sunset. The lake was still, the air crisp, everything right again. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's about patience, planning, and timing. Lisa thought she was the smartest person around, but she underestimated experience. My Navy years taught me to think ahead. She never stood a chance. She lost her power, her position, her reputation. The HOA cleaned up its act, and my dock stayed quiet. When people ask if I regret letting her take the boat, I laugh. Let her, I say. I handed her the rope, and she tied her own noose. If you ever meet a Lisa, someone who thinks they can take what's yours, remember this. Stay calm, think smart, set the trap. Sometimes, the best way to win is to let them think they've already won.